Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. On July 2nd, 2025, a document was filed under seal that got our attention here at the Indie Zone, and we had done some previous content about it. We saw it on the case summary page, that it was a document filed under seal for some reason. This is a standard form. It is the Guilty Plea Advisory Form for felony. That day, Mr. Kohberger stood up in open court and surprised quite a few people that he was changing his plea to guilty of the 5 very serious felonies that were brought against him in a case that had been operating largely under seal for more than 2.5 years from public disclosure. Pled guilty, and that act caused the jury trial to be canceled when many in the public, myself included, were looking forward to hearing and seeing the state's evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Kohberger was the sole and the correct defendant responsible for the catastrophic events that happened at 1122 King Road back on November 13th, 2022. And resulted in the loss of 4 precious lives: Kaylee, Madison, Xana, and Ethan. This guilty plea advisory form remained under seal during Mr. Kohberger's change of plea hearing for the next couple of weeks leading up to his sentencing hearing, which happened on the 23rd of July. It remained under seal that day. It remained under seal thereafter. It continued to remain under seal even when both sides, the state and the defense, told Judge Hippler back on the 18th of August, 2025, that neither one of them had an objection to this document being released to the public. And yet, it still was not released to the public until yesterday, the 3rd of September, 2025. And in looking at this guilty plea advisory form, you see as you go through it Mr. Kohberger's handwriting, including on page number 1. And I'm not a handwriting expert, I'm not a medical professional, but I am a person, like a lot of people, who have family members or loved ones who have autism. And the style of handwriting appears to look like what the handwriting of other autistic human beings that are close to me write like. This document is extraordinarily important because it required Mr. Kohberger to read it, to understand what he was reading, and to willingly and knowingly and competently waive multiple constitutional rights. This is what he's giving up, but the caveat is he's got to knowingly, freely, willingly, voluntarily give up these important constitutional rights that makes this country what it is. It begins with making sure that Mr. Kohberger understands and he writes and reads, because this form is in English, the English language. And asking for what was the highest grade of school that you completed, and he says their master's level. But look at, have you ever been diagnosed with a mental health disorder? Yes. Are you currently under the care of a mental health professional? No. And the question is, if he's been diagnosed with a mental health disorder, why isn't he receiving treatment? Next, if so, what was the diagnosis and when was it made? February of 2025, he was diagnosed with autism, OCD, ADHD, ARFID, and he checks yes. The next paragraph, are you currently prescribed any medication? And he discloses what the medication is. And then he seemed to have a little bit of confusion here. In the last 48 hours, have you taken any medication, including over-the-counter, or have you consumed any beverages which you believe affects your ability to understand these questions or to make a reasoned and informed decision in this case? And at first, he checked off yes. For some reason, he scribbled that out, then checked off no and initialed that. So it's unclear when, how, or why that happened. And the question that I have is, if someone is afflicted with a mental health disorder, how do they know? If they're competent to answer all of these questions, if they can do so freely, do they have the ability to understand what these questions mean and to enter a plea? If you look at this document, there's nothing here stating that a healthcare professional signed off on this and guaranteed that, given these disclosures, that he understood what he was doing here. This is just an observation that I am making, as I've said, per the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. If you have any comments, any opinions, any thoughts, please leave them here. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.